what I wanted to talk to you a bit about, Bob, was I definitely want to talk about the conference, but I also want to talk a little bit about just you in general and what you've been doing and how you've helped this community. I know when I first started, it's been 21 years now. And you were one of the polarizing figures that, I had to get to know.
Man.
Just simple as that, man. You were doing the conference then, right?
I started, this will be the 17th conference.
The 17th conference. Okay, so you.
That gray hair you got up coming out of your head.
Man, that's 21 years right there, man. So it's been a while. But I think that you were one of the people that, kind of helped molded what I was doing along with some of the other folks that I got to meet early, working with the city, spending some time with Mr. T over there, so it's been a lot of great folks that helped kind of mold me, I'd like to say. And it's funny because now I've got a lot of people calling me, young people calling me about stuff.
Yeah. And so we switched places. You where I was, well, maybe a little bit more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Okay.
You're the mature. I'm the senior now.
You're the senior now.
I'm the senior.
I got you. And you're still doing good stuff, but I want to talk a little bit about that before we get into the conference. Can you tell me a little bit about, and people that watch this on our channel, a little bit about how you got started in what you do with the Birmingham Business Resource Center and how you just came to be with that?
Wow. So I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes short version.
Yes.
But it really goes back to Gaston. So when I worked for Gaston, I got some credibility. I was able to start this organization called the Urban Bankers. Urban Bankers gave me a chance to meet people and get to know people like Richard Arrington, the mayor. Because I knew the mayor and had a good dialogue with him, I got first a contract with the city to do some work around the Community Reinvestment Act and banks and what the city was doing. And I started talking to the mayor and the guy that was over economic development about the need for this one stop for small business finance and related technical assistance. And that is what became the Birmingham Business Resource Center. So you could draw a direct line between, me working for Gaston, me getting to know Dick Arrington, and me starting the BBRC.
Okay, so in that direct line, and helping people get their businesses going, can you talk a little bit about what the BBRC was doing and still does for people?
Well, yeah, so the BBRC hadn't really changed at all. We thought, and I thought, that in order for a business to succeed, you needed three things. And you needed to be able to have one organization impact all those three things. And the three things were capacity. You had to have the capacity to deliver, the capacity to run a business. You need to have, and then the other one was capital. You needed to be able to have some capital. Now, if you had plenty of money, that's fine. But if you didn't, you had to position yourself to get money from somewhere else. Typically, we use banks and the SBA. And then you needed to be able to have a customer, because as a sign used to say on one of my boss's walls, nothing happens until somebody sells something. Yeah. And so you could have a bunch of capacity and you could go out and borrow some money. If you can't sell a product or a service, then you're not going to succeed. So that was our philosophy 25 years ago, and it's still tried and true. It still works today.
Okay, and so when a person has a business or starts a business and they say, hey, I want to grow this business or find out what I need to grow this business, can they come talk to you about that?
Sure, absolutely. People talk to us that are at every stage of business development. Folks that are just thinking about starting a business, and we got some folks that they come in and and they don't really know what to do, but they know they want to do something. So we spend time with folks like that, people who are in business that want to grow, but they need some help developing the strategy around growing, because growing is just that. It requires a strategy. We even have people who are in business who are looking to close down or get out or retire. And so, but there's a strategy and a plan. We talk a lot about business plans. There's a plan for every stage. There's a startup plan. There's a plan when you're rolling, but there's also a plan when you need to innovate, and there's an exit plan. So all of those kinds of planning strategies are things that we we love to talk to business owners and potential business owners about.
Okay, okay. And so fast forward, I think I like what you just said about innovate. And as we look at some of the times we're in right now, have you been able to, or have you had to kind of talk to some of your clients about being innovative and doing things that tie into what we're looking at now with our economy?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of folks who have had to switch their models because just over the past year. And see, the good thing, if you position yourself to have the kind of liquidity and you're nimble enough to be able to turn on a dime, and that's what the businesses that are going to survive coming out of COVID. A lot of them were able to turn on a dime because you didn't have a wheel. You know, you had to pivot pretty quickly. I look at folks that were in like the food service business that might have been able to come out of a restaurant and get a truck and still keep rolling, or people who were doing having a business that required a lot of traffic. Now you take your product or service to the folks. I mean, the other good thing is somebody thrives, and this is bad, in a way, but somebody thrives even in the most negative situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, COVID was a real negative situation, but some business owners were able to thrive. A.G. Gaston was like that. He thrived during segregation and during a time when Black folks didn't have many rights, but he was able to thrive during a situation we would find just appalling, and just disgusting to us now. So yeah, but I think it's real important that business owners stay nimble. And in order to stay nimble, you have to have a certain amount of liquidity. And that's one of the things that we preach and we try to teach the businesses that we come in contact with, stay as liquid as you possibly can, and then maintain really good credit so that if you need something, you're able to go and get it.
Okay. And I tell you one thing I appreciate when we talk about innovation is, you've always been pretty accessible. I could call you and, you take some time out and meet with me and Darren back in the day, we can talk to you. But one thing I do appreciate is that when I saw that you were doing things live, and so I was able to tune in and catch you on your live quite often.
Well, it's something that I thought about doing, but some of the younger people in my life and younger folks that influenced me, kept telling me, do it. I mean, and I remember I didn't want to do it. I really did not. I resisted it. And I'm thinking, nah, I ain't gonna do no Facebook Live, because, just a little bit. It wasn't vanity, but, I wanted it to be, if I was gonna be on a video, and, I wanted everything to be right, the lights and the camera. And so they kept saying, no, just be real. And so when I started doing it, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna do one in a little while. But it's been good to just get on and just share because I've been blessed and fortunate to have seen a lot of stuff, and I'm not saying that I'm a know-it-all, but I've had some experience, and and so it just makes me feel good to be able to come on, sort of unrehearsed, just sort of share what's in my heart and my mind. And especially around businesses, because I'm convinced that as a people, we have got to grow our business class. I mean, it is imperative that we grow our business class. There's some other things that we need to do. We need to be good with money, period. Money, being more money smart. We need to focus on using investment and insurance tools to be able to leave legacy wealth to our families. We need to be a student in our real estate purchases and make sure we make good decisions there. But we also need to start, grow, and develop businesses because that's what's going to create wealth for us. So I'm loving doing it. I like the brand, Bob D in the Black. I've been doing In the Black on the radio for 25 years. And so it was just a way of kind of taking some of the stuff that I've been doing on the radio and then putting it, out there, in a different medium.
Okay. And I took that when I saw it, I watched a couple of, in a couple of weeks, I watched it and I have a section on URBNHM called What's Streaming. And it was just such good content. And I'm going to tell you that because I'm a content guy that I was like, man, we got to make sure we share this from our network. Because, you're sharing some really good stuff that people need to learn from and pay attention to.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So looking forward, man. So let's talk about the conference a little bit. Now you've been doing that for 17 years now.
It's be number 17 coming up.
Okay.
Wow.
And so what if you can tell us what is your purpose for the conference?
Actually there are a handful of purposes. So number one is I always thought that A.G. Gaston never got enough credit for being who he was, what he did, and the phenomenal businessman that he was. A.G. Gaston, 100 years after he started his first business in 1923, is still the most successful Black businessman in Alabama, and maybe and really in most states. So that might not say a whole lot of stuff about all of us who come along behind him, but it says something about him. So I really thought, just honoring him was my first objective in doing the Gaston Conference, but also using his example as sort of a mirror that we could look in and measure ourselves to. He was thrifty. He was ingenious. He vertically and horizontally integrated his businesses, even though he wouldn't have used those terms. He understood he was a born entrepreneur, but he made himself even better. He was a born entrepreneur, but he made himself make money. He was strategic. And so all the things that Gaston was, we need business owners to be. All the things that Gaston was 100 years ago, we need business owners in the 21st century to be. And then the last thing we wanted to do was we wanted to bring to the attention of others, not just the plight of Black businesses that really don't get to generate the revenue that we should based on our percentage of the population, but the necessity, the importance of our companies. I think growing Black business ought to be a national imperative. Mm-hmm. Growing Black and brown businesses ought to be a national imperative. Our entire economy would benefit if we grow this Black and brown business class. And it's got to be everybody's responsibility. It's not just our responsibility. It's corporate America's responsibility. It's the federal government's responsibility. If we don't do it, we lose as a country. But we don't have to focus on that. If we do it, we gain so much. The rising tide of growing Black businesses will lift all of the boats. And I mean corporate boats, government boats, white boats, Black boats, all the boats are going to rise if we can help Black companies increase their revenue generation and just do better in business.
Okay. And then, so looking forward to this year's conference. So you put some innovation out and you decided to go virtual this year. Now, I would think that would also help you kind of reach people outside of the market that would either have to travel here or just, hometown folks. But now you've got people literally all over the world that you can talk to with this conference. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was crying at first.
That's true, yeah.
It was because we didn't have a choice. It wasn't like we had a choice. We held out. We knew we got it in under the gun last year. We had our conference on February 11th and 12th. Right. 2 weeks later, COVID was really. If we had been doing it a month later, we would have had to cancel. Oh, thank you for letting us do it when we did. But around October, we were sure that even if there had been some sea change, which it wasn't, it wouldn't have been the same. We wouldn't have been able to gather and have the nice luncheon and the reception. So we put in a plan. I gotta thank my friends at LRY Media for partnering with us to do it this year. I think they have done a great job. So we were able to make the pivot again and to be able to do it virtually. And you're right. Now we've got over 300 people registered. And quite a number of those folks are not from Birmingham. And so that was a plus. Our speakers have really been good and have kind of stuck to scripts, and they didn't have to travel here. And just think, had we been doing it this week with all the snow and ice, that might have been a debacle in and of itself. We always were, concerned about something like that happening. But just to be able to do it virtually, to be able to get people who can look at it and listen to it from all around the country. The fact that it can be shared and reshared, I think means a lot to us, and it means a lot, hopefully, to our speakers and our sponsors. And it's good. The one thing that I'm trying to really come to grips with, and really as we think about next year's conference and conferences in the future, is how much of it will need to be virtual and how much of it will be done the other way. I think that we've entered into a time frame where we may as well get used to doing stuff virtually. Mm-hmm. And so meetings, rather than, I've been on 4 or 5 Zoom calls today that I would have driven. Well, I couldn't have done 4 or 5 had I had to do all of them in person. Right. I just physically couldn't have done them. Gas and, I the one thing I probably the cleaners and my cleaners probably hurt a little bit.
That's right. You wear your suit.
My cleaners and my barber hurting a little bit. But it's just it's a different world, and so I think virtual is going to be here. It does have some disadvantages. Man, I'd love to be there in person, shaking hands and passing out cards and networking. And maybe we'll get back to some of that, but just that raw information that we can share through these, types of mediums I think those are important as well.
Okay. Well, and if you'll take a few minutes and just kind of tell us about some of the guests. I've attended and I've really enjoyed the guests in the past. And I look, since I've been sharing it on URBNHM, one person, the young lady that does I think it's the Black Buy Experience or something like that.
Yeah, Maggie.
Maggie, I saw a news special on that one time, and that goes back to what you said earlier about we just need to really have some type of business initiative, because the struggle that they had finding a Black business for everything that they needed was pretty interesting and amazing.
Even in Chicago, a giant city, I guess at the time, Chicago was the 3rd largest city in America. And the struggle that we have just buying from each other is real. But Maggie is a fireball. She's going to really bring it, as she always does at the conference. Yeah, she wrote the book Our Black Year and started the empowerment experiment and spent a year in Chicago. She made a commitment to only buy from Black folks, and she lived up to it, and she's still living up to it. So she can, and Maggie is sort of a walking Black business directory. So, because she could tell you, she could probably, if there is anything you want to buy, I pretty much would guarantee you Maggie can tell you some Black companies, plural, that sell it. So she's great. Shelly Bell, who came last year, Shelly has started this venture called Black Girl Ventures. Female business founders, Black business founders, and in particular, Black female business founders don't have the same access as other founders do. And so to be able to form a group, start an initiative that really tries to help Black female business founders gain access to venture capital and other capital for their businesses, is something, and she has a real personal story that everybody can relate to. So we were happy to have her. And Mark Moriel, with the president, CEO of the Urban League, there's not a whole lot I could add to his credentials. You see him on MSNBC and CNN, and we all read the Urban League's State of Black America, the one in 2020 that was produced at the end of almost the end of the COVID year is really remarkable in some of the recommendations that it makes, for Black people, and kind of lays some responsibility on who needs to help us. And then the brother Dietrich Asante Muhammad, Dietrich is one of those experts. He's written extensively about the racial wealth gap, how to close it, and why it should be closed. So we're really happy to introduce Dietrich to Birmingham, and hopefully he's going to be coming back year after year. He's got some real important things to say, and has made some really key strategic alliances with corporate America, especially those folks and those companies with a conscience, that want to put their their money and their resources where their economic and environmental and social and governance dollars are going. So anyway, it should be a real good conference, as it usually is. I just would love to see everybody get on it. It's only going to be like 2.5 hours, so I'm not going to try to keep you on a Zoom all day. And we think it'll be 2.5 interesting hours on Tuesday and another 2.5 interesting hours on Wednesday.
Okay, so it's a 2-day conference like it is when you go in person, right?
Yes.
Okay, 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. So it's a little shorter than we do it in person, but still similar to the same format.
Hey, we're gonna miss that good meal you provide at lunchtime, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna miss the meal. I did attend a Zoom conference that was over lunch.
Yes.
And everybody had their lunch, and that was kind of cute. We decided, we thought about stuff like that, but we felt like, hey, getting the information out there is probably more important than trying to have a little gimmick. So there are no gimmicks. It's straight information. I think will be useful and valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I always believe when you can stretch out your boundaries with your audience, you'll find people that'll replace those that were coming in person or that wasn't making up necessarily the numbers that you were looking for. So, I mean, I can see this. I can see you having 3,000, 300,000 people at some point on this conference.
Well, well, thank you for thinking like that. We all we're gonna embody that. We're gonna touch and agree on that one, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely. Well, Bob, I'm gonna let you go, but in closing, just kind of tell me what I can kind of tell some of the young folks that I talk to when they're, coming to me about business and I guess where to start and when they've started. I've met a lot of people, and I was like this myself, so I can relate. But they're just doing too much. They may have 3 things going at one time, and it's like, okay, well, what are you going to focus on, and what is it that you really want to do? What kind of expert input can you give them on that?
Well, you just kind of hit the nail on the head. I've had a lot of folks come to me and they got several different ideas and they want to do them all. And my first piece of advice to them is I'll ask them, which one is going to get you a check quickest? Okay. So that might be where you want to start. Which one can you monetize quickest? Maybe that's where, nothing wrong with being multifaceted, but you got to start somewhere. So you may want to start with which one gets you the check quickest. The other thing that I say this to young people, it doesn't really matter. Do something that, one, about, you have superior knowledge about. It's hard to succeed in a business and a little something. Your knowledge can't just be average. If you're in business, you have to be an expert in your field. And not only that, you better be an expert in all the things that touch your field. Then number 2, there are always going to be some things that you don't know. You might be the greatest at what you do, but you don't know accounting. You may not know human resources. So don't be afraid to hire for what you don't have, and don't be too stingy to do that. Budget, your accounting work, budget your HR work. You need a lawyer. You need other kinds of advisors and consultants. So be sure you do that. And then I guess the last thing is follow your passion. Small business ownership is it's a grind. And even succeeding in small business might not make you wealthy, but it can make you happy. Mm-hmm. And so and can make you satisfied. And now, if the only thing that's going to satisfy you is getting rich, then you might have a problem, whatever you do.
Right.
So find something that you like doing, something that you're passionate about, something that if you make $100,000, you're going to be happy. If you make $500,000, you're going to be happy. Now, if you're going to make $50,000, you might need to keep your job. but anyway, but even so, if you are passionate about it, it motivates you to want to get up in the morning and go do it. Then that's something that you've made a good choice. If you're dragging around and you're, you dread it, that comes across to your customers. Mm-hmm. I've rarely seen successful entrepreneurs that weren't enthusiastic and energetic. I mean, that didn't want to work hard because they enjoyed what they were doing. And it wasn't just about the money, it was about the activity. And so that's I tell you one thing, I probably could have given that advice 25 years ago when we started the BBRC, but it's the same advice. It may have some different, we may use different language, but at the end of the day, and we may use, different types of ways to innovate and get the statement and get the information out. At the end of the day, it's like in football, it's still blocking and tackling.
Still blocking and tackling. I got you. Hey, that's just like in computers. I tell people it's still zeros and ones.
That's right.
What you do, it's a zero. Yeah. All right. Well, Bob, before we get out of here, if you could tell me, what do you think of some of the top opportunities out there for aspiring entrepreneurs? I know you have all types of businesses, but if you'd like to see more Black people in business, what areas would you like to see that in?
Creatives are really, really getting a lot of traction in business these days because things are changing, so quickly. So I think that those are, don't leave, all the whole gambit of creatives behind. But at the end of the day, people that are in construction and construction related businesses, there's always going to be a need for them. It's capital intensive, if you really want to grow and be big, but it is lucrative, if you can do that. Food services, people are always going to be eating. It's really competitive, so you got to make sure that you have a strategy to beat the competition, both in terms of driving traffic to wherever you are or going to wherever they are, and then making sure that you can be profitable. But and so it's not, it's easy to do a lot of business and maybe not profit. But let me tell you what I really would like to see more and more of our people doing. I would like to see more of us really pooling together and forming bigger companies so we can go after bigger contracts. We can enter into some of the fields like some of the manufacturing that's using robotics and some of the other things that are going to really rule the day, as the 21st century unfolds. To be able to get into some of the manufacturing that might be involved with producing electric cars. I think GM has made a goal that sometime within the next 15, 20 years, that's all they're going to be producing. We've got to position ourselves to be in business in the future. And the way you do that is you start planning and understanding what future entrepreneur opportunities are going to look like. You can't get caught in the 90s unless you talk about the 2090s, and that's sort of. But those are some of the things that I think I see. We do have to understand that in order to really succeed in businesses at a higher level, it requires the ability to invest more. And so, if you're positioning yourself, to be a business owner, then the one thing that you're positioning yourself to do is to be able to make a more sizable investment, into your business. So now you leverage that, with loans or venture capital and other things. We've got to create more venture funds for businesses that are owned by Black and brown people. We've got to create more patient capital for companies that are going to be small, the more lifestyle firms that are only going to have 2 or 3 employees, because they're important too. If every micro enterprise in Alabama added 2 employees, we'd run out of folks and have to send to Georgia and import some people to work in just those companies. So at every level, business growth is important.
Every level is important. Okay, well, we don't want to give people too much. We need them to tune in to the conference. AGGastonConference.com.
AGGastonConference.biz.
AGGastonConference.biz. And you can just buy tickets all the way up to the day, or what?
In fact, you don't have to buy them. You can register for the conference, and it's free because it's virtual. We had such good sponsors. Thank you so much to our sponsors that we didn't have to charge. And so you can register. Yeah, the registration window is going to be open through the conference.
Okay, be open through the conference. All right, well, that's good, man. It's always good talking to you. And I got to do this again because I need to pick your brain a little bit about AG Gas, and I want to get you on camera talking about that.
Okay.
And also, just general business stuff. And like I said before, I think that you were one of the people that I met early when I moved back here and kicked off my entrepreneurial journey. And I've always looked up to you, and I think that the things that you bring to the city are very valuable. So I know it's going to be very valuable to those tuning in the virtual world.
Well, thank you, Russ. I appreciate it, man.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate
Yes,
what
sir.
you're doing. Thank you.
All right, Bob.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later, sir.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.